welcome to TV9 News. I'm your host Ashish Parekh. The pandemic has introduced us to a new area of words. We are hearing new terms and words every day, and one of the most common terms that a lot of people did not really hear before but now has become pretty common is the oxygen saturation level. Now, even before a patient is admitted to the hospital these days, the doctors ask about the patient's oxygen saturation level. And just like the name suggests, this basically is the amount of oxygen that is present in a patient's blood. And this is very crucial because it is one of the vital factors to determine how healthy a person is. And we've got various methods that this can possibly be measured, and one of the non-invasive methods and devices that is pretty common and pretty popular these days is oximeter. With cases soaring across the country, oximeters are in high demand. A lot of people are also worried about hypoxia, which is also one of the symptoms that is seen, and due to this the number of oximeters that is available in stores has gone down, and as expected the prices have shot up. And this is pretty similar to the profiteering that was done with the N95 masks during the first wave. Now the oximeters, which cost around 300 to 700 rupees earlier a few months ago, now are costing more than 3000 rupees, which is again becoming a huge problem for people who cannot afford it. Now everyone knows that the reading between 95 to 100 is considered as healthy, and this is something that is in the green zone. And even before oximeters became popular and started selling like hotcakes, a lot of smartwatch brands also started marketing their products and their gadgets based on the ability that they had to in fact measure your oxygen level using the SpO2 sensor, which these gadgets had. And based on that, several smartphones smartwatches in fact were sold, and a lot of gadgets are available in the market currently as well. So the question that obviously arises is, in case you are one of those people who has a smartwatch which has an SpO2 sensor, do you need to buy an oximeter? And how reliable are the measurements that are done using the smartwatches which have SpO2 sensors? Can they actually be considered as a reliable source of measurement? And also, what's the difference between the two devices? How exactly does an oximeter generate the value of your oxygen saturation level, and how exactly does a smartwatch do it? What is the difference between the two procedures? These are some of the general questions that a lot of people have these days. Now, comparing the methodology of measuring the oxygen saturation level between an oximeter and your smartwatch, oximeter first uses something called as the transmittance oximetry. Now what this basically does is, this has two lights. One basically generates your infrared light, and the other generates a red light, and this also combines with a photodiode which is placed opposite to it, and between these two you have the part of the body where the oxygen saturation level is to be measured. This can be your toe, your finger, or your earlobes, or any other part of the body which basically is measured for oxygen saturation level. Now once this is done, these two lights, for example the red light, the infrared light, is actually given out at a wavelength of around 950 nanometers, whereas your red light is given out at a wavelength of 650 nanometers. Now at these wavelengths, there is a significant amount of difference between the absorption of absorption by the oxygenated blood and the deoxygenated blood. Now for example, at this particular wavelength, oxygenated blood absorbs infrared rays and it allows red light to pass, and on the other hand your deoxygenated blood absorbs red light and allows infrared rays to pass, and this difference in value is used to measure the oxygen saturation level, and the final value is displayed to you on your monitor using a processor. Now on the other hand, when you're talking about smartwatches, this basically uses something called as reflectance oximetry. Now what this basically does is that instead of actually light passing through a person's body, it actually reflects back, and the measurement of that is used to determine the oxygen saturation level. Now what this does is, you have your particular sensors which are placed right next to the source of the light, and when the sensors get back the reflected light, the calculation is done, and based on that the SpO2 levels are displayed. Now there is a lot of debate about which exactly is more reliable. Now let me tell you this. Now your saturation levels that you get on your smartwatches are absolutely not recommended for your clinical methods. For example, you can be an athlete, you can be someone who is into regular exercises, and who is someone who is very careful about their fitness regime and all those things. So it is something that you can actually keep for your reference, but the value cannot be considered as an absolute value because there is a major deviation, and there are a lot of factors that come into the picture wherein it when you talk about something such as your oxygen saturation level. Whereas in oximeters, it is actually used for clinical trials and clinical methods as well, which means that the value that you get in an oximeter is actually a definitive value and is something that the doctors would accept as compared to a value that you would get on your smartwatches. So do let us know what you guys think about this comparison between oximeter and a smartwatch SpO2 sensor. Do leave behind your comments in the comment section below, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe to TV9 News. Thanks a lot for watching.